Hello everyone, welcome to another great adventure over here on RJB Wildlife. On this adventure, we are here at the San Diego Zoo where I'm going to take a look at a couple of animals that we are going to be focusing on here in the future, and also take a look at some new developments that have been going on at this facility. So if you're ready for another great adventure, let's go. One of the areas that we're going to focus on here is going to be Polar Bear Plunge, as there is a minor renovation project that is going to be going on in this area in a little bit. And that, of course, revolves around the iceberg play area with the seals, as that is going to get removed. And the future of the aviary was in question up until today, as they have put the birds back in this space, as it looks like the aviary is going to be sticking around for the long-term future. With the return of the birds, it does seem that the aviary is going to be safe. Now, the waterfowl here are going to be the most present. However, there are cardinals and some other birds flying around in the trees, so if you're lucky enough to see those, awesome. With all of the birds back in this aviary, it is evident that this space is going to be staying as is. With that though, it does seem like this project is going to be significantly smaller with all of the stuff that is not getting renovated. So it does just appear to be that one play area, and that is going to be replaced in favor of a educational venue. One of the coolest aspects of this aviary though is this glass viewing area, which is kind of like a dive pool for the waterfowl. And if you do see them dive, it is actually pretty cool. It makes this aviary unique in comparison to the others. It is really nice to have the birds back in here, as it adds a bit of ambiance and overall energy and life in an area that used to just have polar bears for a long time and the lynx that are barely visible. One of the aspects of Polar Bear Plunge I really want them to keep is the polar bear statues that depict the stages of life for these animals. And the main reason for this is because this set of statues is pretty significant to the zoo and the overall story of the polar bears here. Of course, you got the little baby here. This isn't anything significant here at this facility, but this little cub is actually the size that Takin and Calf were when they arrived here, which is a very interesting situation, as if you stand next to that, they're pretty small, but then if you stand next to the big one standing up, that is actually how big Calf was when he was in his adult stages in life, all the way up until his passing. And I've said this before here on the channel, but I think there should be a plaque installed in this area that commemorates Calf and the significance of that individual here at the zoo. And specifically because this is the story of these animals, basically from when he arrived here to his late life. I don't know if they're going to do that or if they're even considering that, but I do think that would be an amazing touch to this attraction, specifically because he was a beloved animal here, and his absence is clearly evident, specifically here in the habitat and in the overall feeling around the zoo. So the next big thing I want to point out actually has to do with this attraction right behind me. This is Sun Bear Forest. And recently there has been some conversation surrounding the future of this area, Bear Canyon, and urban jungle. And in talking to a couple of volunteers and some of the staff today, it is sounding pretty firm that this indeed will be the next big project here at the San Diego Zoo. The main goal of this expansion is to take all three of these attractions and create a slight slope that takes you from the Sydney's Grill portion of Australian Outback all the way down to the Huame Plaza connected to Panda Ridge. Bear Canyon has been around since the 1950s, and it is time for this area to go. It is an older area full of grottos, and the II habitats were a really old part of it. So when those went away and were eventually replaced with the garden, it was a sign of things to come here in this area. But as of right now, it does feel like this is on its way out, and urban jungle is getting close to the same fate. Urban jungle is going to be a little more of a slow burn type of situation in comparison to Bear Canyon. A lot of the animals here are very popular, specifically the giraffes, as they still do the feedings over here. The rhino is also pretty popular as well. And on top of their popularity here at the zoo, it does appear that the giraffes do seem to be expecting another member to be added to this herd. This would be the third calf born here at the zoo this year. The first one unfortunately didn't make it, and Madoa, who is over here with the rest of this herd, is the second one that was born. So hopefully the third one yields better results than the first. So that move is going to take some time. The first one I would expect to see moved is Maza, the rhino here. This would be mainly because He was at the safari park for a while when the hippos were in this habitat during their renovation, and he actually did have 3 calves over there, so I could see them eventually moving him back there, depending on if that's what the species survival plan recommends or not. And the cheetahs can also be moved to the safari park as well. But once all these moves happen, it is going to be a pretty seamless transition into the demolition process of Urban Jungle and Bear Canyon. And currently, the expected timeline for the start of that project is going to be this time next year. Once Elephant Valley opens to the public in March at the safari park, there will be a transition of nothing really going on at either facility, and then you'll start to see the closures here. And then the demolition progress will start sometime in November, and then that'll cascade into 2 to 3 years of construction time for a brand new and amazing expansion for the San Diego Zoo. The only area in the proposed expansion plot that isn't an entirely old attraction is Sun Bear Forest. It opened in 1989, so it is younger than Tiger River, but the primary reasoning for that area being a part of this is because sun bears as a species are getting phased out of the US species survival plans, with sloth bears taking the place of sun bears for conservation purposes here in the United States, as they have been proven breeders in this area, whereas sun bears have not. So it is good to see that the zoo is prioritizing the conservation aspects of their programs, but the sad eventual day of the sun bears no longer being at this facility seems inevitable. I now want to bring us over to Elephant Odyssey for something that doesn't really pertain to this facility all that much, more so about the safari park. And that is the fact that Voos Moosey, who is the oldest of the bachelor boys here, may potentially be going back to the safari park sometime soon, and that is all as a result of the completion of Elephant Valley. It is still unknown whether or not he will be the designated male to go back and breed with some of the females there, as the species survival plan in AZA may have a different plan as far as bringing in a male that can actually breed with all of the females there. I will say the zoo is pushing for him to go back mainly because of his genetics, because his father is still roaming the wilds of Africa. He was actually born via one of the elephants that was brought over from Eswatini, who you can actually view at the safari park in Ndula. So his genetics are invaluable to the species survival plan in AZA, and the zoo is desperately wanting to bring him back to breed with the females to further expand that genealogy. Wildlife transfers with animals this large does take a lot of time to organize, so the odds are this has been in progress for quite a while now. I would look at possibly the end of January to early February as to when he might be moved out of here and brought to the safari park. So there's been a little bit of a surprising development as of the last week. For those of you that don't know, the San Diego Zoo does house all 3 species of takin, that being the Sichuan, Golden, and Mishmi. And on this occasion, I noticed that there is a 1-week-old Mishmi Takin calf in the back areas by Skyfari West. This is really significant considering that the takin were a featured species in Panda Trek, which then became Panda Ridge. And since that renovation a couple years ago, the takin have not been on exhibit here at the zoo. So one would assume there are plans to eventually bring them back in the future, and the new expansion may be that opportunity. However, as of right now, all 3 species are housed at the back adjacent to Skyfari West, and you can see one baby out there. So when you exit on the western side, definitely take a look on the left as you go, and you might be able to see the 1-week-old Mishmi takin. That's going to do it for today. If you had fun on this journey, please hit the like button. And if you would like to embark on future adventures, please consider subscribing and ringing that notification bell. And until next time, I hope to see you all again on the next adventure on RJB Wildlife.